Hey everybody, this is me, the Undead Viking, and this game is called Mars 445. Mars 445 is a space-themed multiplayer solitaire game, and by I say multiplayer solitaire, what I mean not a boring Euro where everybody just kind of tends their own garden and does their own thing while you wait for somebody else to do something. No, this is a game of solitaire. We've all played solitaire, at least on our computers, right? It is a game of solitaire that is multiplayer, and I've played multiplayer solitaire with decks of cards before, but this is like a spin on it where basically each person's going to have their own kind of row of cards in front of them, but then they have the communal thing in the middle that they're kind of fighting over and trying to put their cards down, and it is a real-time game. So, but I'll explain all of that and more in the how to play portion, which we'll do right now, and then we'll come back here and I'll tell you what I think. Alright, cool. These 4 decks of cards are what each person's going to have when you play a game of Mars 445. So each person's going to have their own deck. These decks of cards have the exact same cards in each one of them. They have different colors, they have different numbers, and there are 4 different kinds. You can see the 4 different colors right there. This is a solitaire mechanism game, as I said, and so the numbers obviously are what's going to be determining which cards can be placed on which cards. Now, this is something where everybody's going to be playing cards in the middle of the table, and they're going to play cards on other people's cards and so on and so forth, so just keep that in mind as it goes. It doesn't matter. The back of the card will matter when you get to the scoring phase, and I'll explain that in a little bit, but as far as there's no rules against, I can play my cards on anybody else's cards and vice versa. So just keep that in mind. All right, to set up the game, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to take the top 15 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Awesome. Take 15 cards off the top of your deck and you place them down there. Those are your back-ordered supplies, as it's called, and you'll be able to reveal those as the game goes on. Then you take the top 3 cards from your deck and you place those down. And these cards are your warehouse shelves. These are the things that you have available on your warehouse shelf and that you have access to right now. As these cards get used up, you'll be able to take cards that are back-ordered and place them into the warehouse, and that's how you reveal those. Then, the rest of the cards you hold in your hand, like a deck, and these are your in-hand or on-hand supplies. Anyway, so you have those. Now everybody else is going to do the exact same thing, so let me just kind of move these out of the way, because the middle of the table is where people are going to be playing cards, and they're going to be playing as far as, like, this is the factory floor. So, like, you have to kind of imagine that everybody, like, for whatever reason, you rented out the same factory, and you are all building these different modules that you need to be able to launch and place a colony on Mars. And to do that, what you're going to do, and I'll show you one of these little scoring cards, you have to be the first person to create a complete colony. And so you can tell that the 4 different colors, so you have to have 3 of these, 2 of those, 1 of those, and 1 of those. And if you do that, then you will be able to win. So the one color that isn't out here, you can see we need 1 of red, we need 1 of blue, we need 1 of green, and then we need 2, you need 2 of green, and you need 3 of the yellow color. Alright, so what's going to happen is that somebody's going to say go, it doesn't matter who, and then you're going to take the top 3 cards, like so, and you're going to flip them over. If you played solitaire, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You turn those over, and now you are able to start making moves. The big thing is that you have to match up the colors as far as placing cards, when you're going to be putting cards into play. And by into play, I mean putting them into the factory floor out here. Now, as far as the factory floor goes, I actually got kind of lucky with the beginning here. You can put number 1 to start with, and then you can put number 2, and then number 3, and so on and so forth. But they have to be the same color. Now, the difference there is if you have on your base over here, like inside your factory shelf, here you go in reverse order, and it can be any number of card or whatever, any color of card, but you have to go reverse. So in this case, I'm kind of boned a little bit because I basically have to get these out into the middle of the factory, so I can get more of these cards and turn them over. Because unless I have a green 1, or any 1 for that matter, I should say, I can't really do that. Now I can take one of these and move it over like that. That opens up a spot and allows me to put something over. But you know, obviously, and you might do that because of the fact that you might look at everybody else's cards that they have revealed, and you realize that if you put that 1 out there, somebody's going to go ahead and place their card down. And this isn't a game that you play, you know, in turns. So, like, it isn't I go and then you go and he goes and she goes. It is a game that is played in real time. And so you have to, like, think ahead and be able to, like, think about playing your cards in order and be aware and present enough to notice when somebody else opens up an opportunity for you and the ability to place another card into the main factory. Because once you complete like the module, basically there's a card here. Let me find one for you. I can show you what they look like. Once you get to the point where you get to place a card that says launch on it. Now this is like, the blue is the longest one as far as the 7. So if you get a card, as soon as you put the launch card, if you're the one that put the launch card down on a deck, you get to take that and you're going to be able to score that at the end of the round. This is a game that's played over several different rounds, and you can just have a point total that you're going to go for. You can just say like 150 points is the standard, but you can raise that or lower it as need be. So just keep that in mind. For example, if you notice, like when I turned over the top 3 cards, the yellow here, the number 1 card here is a 3 and it's a launch. So obviously, like, the yellow has only 3 cards for that chain. So you can, if you have a launch card, like if I played this into the middle like so, maybe somebody is going to be able to put a blue 2 on there. But I could then I could go like that, to put like, and you have to, if you're going to be placing a card down into an empty spot, whether it's like, you can you know, shuffle your decks around a little bit. If you're going to be doing that, then you would have, it has to be a launch card when you put it into an empty spot on your warehouse shelf. I could not, for example, you know, put this down on a warehouse shelf. That would not be a valid move. So, but this is a valid move, and if I went like that, that's another valid move. And like that, that's another valid move. But here's the deal. So like, if you notice that you can look at the top 3 cards that you have, just like when you're playing solitaire, I have the 7 that's there. So then this would be a valid move, and that would be a valid move. So you can see, like, and then now you've opened up opportunities for you. Now also, if like I had a, like, here I'll just kind of cheat and just build one out so you can see this. So if I have a 7 here, and let's say, you know, I put this 6 in, let me find a 5 in my deck. So 5 and then a 4, like so. I could move this over to here. There's nothing preventing me from moving another launch over to complete that little chain, opening it up another spot, and then I can take the top card and I can move it over like so. Man, I'm getting really lucky as far as, I never get this lucky when I play it for real. But so you can have that up. But the bottom line is, what you're trying to do is you are trying to get these decks to the launch. So you got to hope that like somebody else out there, and I'm just gonna, you know, so let's say I managed to put the 2 on there, and let me go ahead and take this person's, like, a 3 out of this person's deck. So like there's a 3, and maybe we'll even give them a 4 on there too. A 4, and then let's go. Let's get. I'll prep this one with the 7, and I will do a 5 from here. Actually, no, I can't do that because I want to actually claim it. So let's give them a 6. Put that back in. But let's say that I, you know, get the 7 on there. Bam, like that. Now I get to claim this, and nobody can take it from you. Like, once you put that on there, nobody can say, oh, you know, it's like, you know, nobody can put another 7 on there or anything like that to take it. You go ahead and you take that and you put it off to the side, and that you can be used to score. The only card you're going to score on there is the top card. So, like, getting a blue completed is going to be worth more, you know, than, you know, any of the other ones, because, you know, like the green is going to be worth 4, the yellow is going to be worth 3, and I'll show you the green here in just a second, if I can, and then, well, you can see the green's worth 4, and then, I'm sorry, the red, let me show you the red here just a moment. the red is worth 6. But only the top card is going to score. However, if you are the first person to complete this, you get 3 of these, 2 of this, and 1 of both of these, and you say launch, and you actually do have those, don't say that by mistake, because as soon as you say launch, everything stops, and you're going to do a score, and you can't take it back. If you're wrong, you lose 10 points. But if you're right, you get a bonus of 5 points for the first person to say launch. However, that isn't all there is to it. Once you launch, you have to go through and look at your colony, and you're going to look at all the other cards that you have, and you're going to look to see how many of cards have your back on them. As long as you are the person that has the majority or tied for the majority of your color on the back, so I'm brown, in this case, like I have 2, green has 2, and both purple and yellow have 1. I have the majority, technically, even though I tied with green, and therefore I'm fine. I don't have to worry about it. However, if I collected one of these decks that has, and I end up having more of my opponents in them than myself, I'm going to actually, they're going to sabotage my colony, and I'm going to lose points. I'm going to lose 10 points in that situation. And your opponent actually gets to take those 10 points and add them to their total as well. So it's got a little bit of a funkiness going on because of the fact that, yes, you want to go ahead and complete these, but you can't just frenetically go through your deck, 1, 2, 3, and it's just like normal solitaire. Once you're out of moves, you get to turn over the next 3. And then you play those and you turn over the next 3, turn over the next 3, and so on and so forth. And then when you get to the end, you flip the cards over and you start again. If you have a situation where you literally you have no other options, like you can't do anything else and nobody else at the table can, basically if you have no other options, like you're going through, like how you play solitaire and you get to the point where you just can't win. If you have that situation and other people can still make moves, you have to kind of stand there and wait to see other people make moves, and then so you can then react to them, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, because then you can actually pay attention to things, which is something that ties into my next point. You have to kind of pay attention to what's going on as far as these decks and how many of your cards are in those, because you don't want to get to the end of the round and actually lose points that you really, really worked hard at getting to that. So it's kind of a neat little aspect to it where you're concentrating on filling out your warehouse shelves and what have you, but you want to also have a pretty good idea of which decks you're placing most of your cards in. And the thing is that it's not exactly a bad thing if you're putting a lot of your cards in one of the decks that are out there and somebody else claims it, because it might turn out to actually be beneficial to you because you've sabotaged their colony and you get points. But if everybody at the table is stuck, nobody can make any more moves, everybody does get one more warehouse shelf and they get to flip over another card. But that is very rare. It's only happened once in the games that I've played. So, there you go. It is a spin on solitaire. Everybody's played solitaire. I really dig the theme. I like the interactivity of this game. I think it's, it fosters a lot of frenetic play, and I do think it's one of those games that the more players you have, the better it gets. But I'll talk more about that in my final thoughts. Alright, thank you very much for learning how to play Mars 445. I hope you have a good idea of how the game is played. I do think this is a game that you'll be able to teach really, really easily. Most people have played solitaire at some point in their lives. And, and I would venture to guess that if you wanted to kind of introduce this game to grandma and grandpa or your parents, and you want them to kind of have an idea of how you enjoy this type of hobby that we're in, this would be a good game to kind of explain it. Now, I think maybe the frenetic pace of the game might not be the best way to do it. Maybe you want it to take a little bit slower, but I do think that the game is at its best, as I said, with a lot of people and a lot of people talking and watching what other people are doing and trying to get that perfect card and getting a chain of cards that they're able to play in a row. I played this game with my mother, who is a fantastic card player. She loves playing card games, and she really, really enjoyed it. And I like games like this that allow me to enjoy those things with my mother, because normally she doesn't really understand, you know, the larger ones of this hobby. But I'm really happy when I find something like this. This was a game that I was able to take to my lake cabin and play with the entire family. And obviously, there's members of my family, like my older brother and my wife and stuff like that, that are well versed in this type of game, but everybody kind of watched it, and within just watching it, people watching how we were playing it, you know, they got the whole process of it. Mostly because obviously it's steeped in a time-honored tradition of a game that everybody learned how to play at some point or another, with Solitaire itself. So all that aside, you know, is the game fun? Yeah, it is. I mean, it's not, you're not gonna like have the game and you're not gonna be like, oh my gosh, this is a groundbreaking game, I've never thought of this before. The theme is obviously completely tacked on. It could have been about anything, but I found the theme to be fun. I like the idea of the alternate scoring when you get to the end if you have too many of your opponent's people, basically, because that's what the cards are supposed to represent. It's kind of like representing members of their science, members of their army, members of their engineers or whatever, and like you kind of like your corporation cultivates that, and they've been able to insert those people into your colony, and when they get there, they blow it up. I guess, I don't know, but you know, thematically, maybe that doesn't make complete sense, but I did like that. I did like that presence, and there is something really cool about the end when you're counting up your cards, and like you're sitting there and you're like, oh please, 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 let me have more people in mind. Let me have picked, you know, the right deck that is out there. And the thing is that I think that actually does help a little bit with the whole process of like somebody just sitting there and waiting, you know, for somebody to put, you know, like you know, the card down that's going to spring their ability to put, you know, that 7 or you know, that 3 or whatever, that launch card down, because they have to actually be able to think, well, wait a minute, what other cards are in there? And so you don't have that kind of everybody standing there waiting, you know, and because that would stink. I mean, the game would just crawl to a standstill. And this game's at its most fun when you got your deck. You're like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Come on, I need that 5. You know, so you know that's when the game is at its best, and when you're racing through your deck trying to get it, and you know, for that reason, and just the whole family oriented situation, I really like this one. So there you go. That's Mars 445. If you have any questions, ask away. I really appreciate that, and if as always, thank you. All right, back up. As always, thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video. Until next time, I'm the Undead Viking, and you have yourself one heck of an awesome day. All right, bye-bye.